On in all, so we're just going to do some practice of solving the different equations. I've left off the just two-step equations because I think you've got the hang of those ones, and different people are getting stuck on different sections. So what I've done is I've split it into 6 sections. I'm going to do 2 examples for each one, and then you've got a section that matches that. Listen through the examples, complete the following section, and the aim is to get all 30 questions done by the end. So on this one, whenever you've got a fraction involved somewhere, whether it's the whole thing written as a fraction or just a fraction within the question, just be very careful which one's which. If it's the whole thing is over something, okay, so all of this side is, it means you can't deal with the 6 or the 5 yet until you've got rid of this 7. So remember, when written in fraction form, that just stands for divide by 7. So the first step is to times by 7. Now, if you times the left-hand side by 7, it just gets rid of the bottom of the fraction and leaves you with 6x plus 5. On the right-hand side, if I do 5 times 7, I get 35. From there, it becomes just like what we started with. So anything added or subtracted goes next. So if we subtract 5, you get 6x equals 30. And then to get rid of the 6, we divide by 6, in which case x is equal to 5. Okay, be very careful with this one. Very similar idea, but this time this minus 7 isn't part of the fraction. So before you deal with a fraction, you have to deal with the minus 7. So the first thing we're going to do on this one is we are going to add 7 to both sides. So if I add 7 to this side of the equal sign, it just cancels out the minus 7 and leaves you with the fraction. 1 add 7 is 8. You can then deal with the bottom of the fraction first. So we're going to times by 3. That leaves you with the 4x on the top of the fraction, and 8 times 3 is 24. And then all you're going to do is divide by 4. You get x equals 6. Now, if you want, pause the video at that point or go back through if you need to hear them again. But pause the video at that point, work through section A, make sure that you can do them all, and then watch the video for the next part. If you want to see all the examples in one go, that's completely up to you. Okay, feel free, by the way, to skip ahead to any section that you actually need. If you're happy with, for example, A, B, and C, skip ahead until you get to section D. Okay, on this one, when you've got brackets involved, we're going to expand the brackets first. So 5 multiplied by 2x gives me 10x. 5 multiplied by 7 gives us 35. On the right-hand side, you've still got equals 65. That then means all you need to do, anything added or subtracted first. So subtract 35, you get 10x equals 30. And then we're going to divide by 10, you get x equals 3. Now, I have put some in these examples that turn out as fractions if you get to one that you're not quite sure about. So 8 times 7x is 56x. 8 times minus 4 is minus 32 is equal to 80. So all we're going to do is, again, added or subtracted first. So opposite of minus 32 is to add 32. That means on this side of the equal sign, I've just got the 56x left, since minus 32 and plus 32 are just going to cancel each other out. On this one, 80 add 32 is 112. And then all you're going to do is to get rid of the 56, we're going to divide by 56. Remember, you can use a calculator if you need it. But 112 divided by 56 is just going to give us 2. There's 2 56s in 112. Right, on to section C. Now, section C is where there's an x on both sides of the equal sign. All you want to do is always pick to get rid of the smallest. 10x is smaller than 18x, so we're going to start by subtracting 10x. Okay, remember what I said today. Technically, if you get it the wrong way around, it doesn't actually matter. You could get rid of the 18 first. You'll just probably end up dividing by a negative number, which creates extra problems at the end if you're not that confident with your negatives. But if we get rid of the smallest, 18x subtract 10x leaves me with 8x. I've still got the minus 11. If I do 10x take away 10x, they're going to disappear. I've just got the positive 13 left. Then all we're going to do is add 11 to both sides. So I get 8x equals 24. And then we're going to divide by 8. You get x equals 3. Right, from there, on the next one, 7x is smaller than 15x, so we're going to subtract 7x from both sides. 15x subtract 7x leaves me with 8x. I've still got the minus 4. And on this side, if I got rid of the 7x, I've just got 23 left. What we're then going to do is add 4 to both sides. So I get 8x equals 27. Now, since we're now going to divide by 8, if I think about the 8 times table, I've got 8, 16, 24, 32, which means this is something that doesn't divide nicely by 8. So you literally write x equals, and 27 is being divided by 8. You don't need to do any more than that. That will be perfectly acceptable at GCSE. Do not turn them into fractions, because quite often, especially if you've got, for example, 3, 6, 9 or 7 on the bottom, you're going to get what we call a recurring decimal. So it's much more exact to leave it as a fraction than as a decimal. Okay. Then we've got last 3 sections. So section D, a lot of expanding brackets needed in this one first of all. So all we're going to do is expand the brackets on both sides. So on this one, 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 5 is 20. Then you've got 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times 16 is 32. And it's now in a format just like section C, where we can actually solve it. So again, smallest goes first. So we're going to subtract 8x. Okay, I'm not going to write it on this side just because I made my line a bit too close. So 12x subtract 8x is 4x. I've still got the plus 20. If I subtract the 8x, I've just got 32 left. Then we're going to subtract 20. So I get 4x equals 12, and then you're going to divide by 4. You get x equals 3. Okay, can we make sure, I know I should have mentioned this right at the start, but that we are always showing our workings. Okay, because as I said, we're going to get onto rearranging equations next week, which are going to be a lot trickier. Okay, especially if you haven't got a method to follow. So 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 times minus 3 is minus 6. And then all we're going to do, again, smallest amount of x first. 6x is smaller than 10, so we're going to start by subtracting 6x. That leaves 4 on this side. 10x subtract 6x is 4x, and I've still got the minus 6. We're then going to add 6 to both sides. I get 10 is equal to 4x. And this is another one when I divide by 4, because 10 doesn't divide nicely by 4. It does give us a much nicer decimal, but in this case, we're going to leave it as 10 over 4 equals x. As I say, that's perfectly acceptable. You could simplify it if you like to 5 over 2. Right, section E, where you've got squared terms in there. Remember, the squared bit itself is the last part to get rid of. Okay, so we start by getting rid of any multiple in front. So we're going to begin by dividing by 8. That gives me x squared equals 9. Opposite of squaring a number is to square root. Sorry about this, guys. There we go. Okay, so, opposite of squaring is to square root a number. So if I square root this, it just cancels out the squared part and leaves you with the x. Now, the square root of 9, what you're actually doing is you're thinking of a number that when I times that number by itself, it gives me 9, because that's a squared number, okay? Or that's how we create our square number. So when we go backwards, we're thinking, well, what number times is by itself? So in this case, 3 multiplies by 3 to give me 9. So the square root of 9 takes me back to 3. You can, if you want, just use the square root button on your calculator. So it's the one that's got that little bus stop, and just type in square root of 9 and you still get 3. Okay, on the next one then. So this one, follow all the steps. Basically pretend the squared part's not there, and follow all the steps we've done right at the beginning. So anything added or subtracted. So we're going to add 12. 6x squared equals 24, because 12 add 12 is 24. To get rid of the 6, we divide by 6. X squared equals 24 divided by 6 is 4. Last step is to get rid of that squared. So we square root. That gives me x equals, and the square root of 4 is 2, because 2 times 2 gives me 4. And then last section is that you start with the square root terms. And so the first thing you need to do, you can't take anything out of that square root. You need to get rid of the square root first. So first thing you're going to do is square the terms. Now, I know it seems a little bit odd, but I draw a box with squared to show that whatever's in my box, I'm going to square it. Okay, so if I square this side, it just cancels out the square root and leaves me with 7x plus 4. If I square this side, 5 squared gives me 25. I can then do everything the same as we've done at the beginning of a question. To get rid of plus 4, we minus 4. 7x equals 21. To get rid of the 7, we divide by 7. X equals 3. Very last question. Again, can't touch anything inside until you've got rid of the square root sign. So first thing we're going to do is square our terms. That gives me 3x plus 7 equals, and 8 squared is 64. We're then going to subtract the 7. So I get 3x equals, what have we got? Subtract 7 is 57. And then to get rid of the 3, we're going to divide by 3. And x equals 19. Again, you can just type that part in the calculator if you're not sure how many 3's in 57. And that's it, guys. Today's lesson is just focusing on making sure you can do each of these sections. Any problems, okay, let me know. Anything that you aren't sure about. But otherwise, look through the video. You can always watch a section, answer those questions, watch the next section, answer the next questions, okay? You don't all have to do it in one go. Right, there's 30 questions, and I'll put the markup out of 30 at the end once I've got a chance to mark them. Right, otherwise, any help needed, guys, get in touch.